Good morning. I'm Jim Newman, and I run Linnean Solutions, which is an environmental consulting firm. We work on a lot of different things, but all of it having to do with integrating people and activity into environmental concerns. Spent some time in my career uh, working for Building Green. Building Green is a publisher. They publish information about green building. Hey, just like they sound. Um, so I uh, wanted to answer a little bit of a question about, so what was that like? What was most interesting? I had a role at Building Green, which covered a couple of different pieces of territory. Interesting company. It's located in Brattleboro, Vermont, uh, and uh, had um, has this beautiful little office in a tiny little building, formerly the SB Organ building in Brattleboro, Vermont. And I went up there. I actually lived in Cambridge while I worked there, and I would go there once a week and work from my home in Cambridge. This was 15 years ago. Uh, that work was really great. Most of what I was doing was building websites because they were transitioning from material written on pieces of paper to showing material on the web. So Building Green website here, I helped to build that. I designed it and helped organize the building process, and started to build out a series of other topics in Building Green that would help other people to understand how to do things. One of the other websites I built was a website called Lead User. Lead User is a website for helping people to navigate the LEED rating system. LEED rating system is LEED stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. So, which brings me to the final point of our my work at Building Green, which was really about building relationships and building a community of people trying to do green design all the way around the world. One of the things I am proudest of working at Building Green was setting up what is now called the peer network. Uh, I got to know people all over the country and worked on things together and really built some ideas. It was really fun, and it still continues to be a very good time. Um, then, sort of one of the other questions that you asked was about, how did I start Linnean? How did that thing happen? I was working at Building Green, and like, how did I switch to doing this other thing? Well, what became very clear to me was that we could talk about what green building was, but actually knowing what worked and what didn't, nobody was doing that. So that's why we started Linnean. And what does that mean? And so we spent some time trying to figure out. We did a lot of writing. We did a lot of presentations. We talked to a lot of people. And then we had to do uh, a little bit of sort of not quite free work, but work that was not, we didn't charge a ton of money for it. One of those projects was working for the Estamara School, where I had taught at the Estamara School for years, knew everybody pretty well, kind of talked them into a project, um, saying, okay, we're going to track how the SMR school is doing in terms of a whole range of environmental metrics or environmental ways of counting. So you can see in that list what those things were. And we kind of said, all right, we'll do this. And if you could pay for us to travel to come up there, that'd be great. Okay, they could handle that. So essentially, we did the work for free, but it gave us something to show people when we were talking. And um, one of the things we learned in this was that if you were going to get people to understand environmental tracking, like what energy use and water use and how you were spending money and things like that, you had to make it really interesting. You had to really make it graphic. You had to show it in pictures. And so we started to develop some ideas about how we could make pictures really cool that people wanted to look at and understand what was going on. So that was one of the big things that we learned out of that process. And we started, these are some, they're kind of goofy pictures, but they were compelling. It's like, these are kind of cool. Uh, and we spent a lot of time figuring out how to do that in a way that was exciting and interesting to people. Um, so that didn't go away. That just got better and better. Since then, we have gone on to do climate action plans for towns and cities. We do a lot of work on making buildings greener using way less energy and way less water. In fact, we worked on a project that you may have a chance to check out sometime called the Hitchcock Center for the Environment, which is an environmental education center for kids, works with kids all over the state. It's based in Amherst, Massachusetts. And they did a living building, what's called a living building, which meant that it makes more energy than it uses. It takes no water off the site. Oh, they only use rainwater that falls on the site. They treat it. You use it for drinking water. They use composting toilets, so there's no water used in toilets, and all the stormwater stays on the site. Plus a whole bunch of other things. There's a whole lot of stuff there. Go check out the Hitchcock Center for the Environment. Pretty interesting place to really understand what environments mean. What do ecosystems mean? How do animals and plants and people work together to try and live in this world? And that's what we're aimed at. We're trying to build a way for people and plants, animals and dirt, water to all live in this world together and help each other as opposed to hurting each other. You ask, how can you be involved? Well, this is a key thing to think about. What do you care about? What are the things that like really rock for you? There's lots of other ways to get involved. One of the big things we're working on now is around soil and plants and their relationship to the whole sort of ecosystem health and carbon sort of emissions and what's called sequestration, which is pulling carbon out of the atmosphere. Uh, it's a lot of opportunity to work with gardening, to work with uh, building soil. All of these things help us to understand that when we think about nature and animals and plants and oceans and people, that those are not different things. We're all one thing. We're all part of a big ecosystem, and we all have to work together. And you are part of that ecosystem too. And you can make that system work better. So thanks a lot. You guys have a fantastic chance to listen to lots of interesting people. And I hope this is useful.